Hey y'all, it's Alexis from Ask Alexis here, and we have or I'm gonna say this, y'all have an amazing treat today. I get this treat all the time, but our guest today is Azyabeth, and she is a priestess of Isis in the Gnostic tradition and an Abarisha in, say it for me,
Lukumi tradition.
the Lukumi tradition. But the part where I say I get this treat all the time is this is who guides me. Okay, this is who guides my spiritual practices and who educates me. And it has been a wonderful ride thus far. And I am excited to go and grow more with you, Beth, as Beth. She lets y'all can't call her Beth, but she lets me call her Beth.
Exactly like that. Yes, yes.
So how are you today? Talk to us. Tell. Oh, so y'all, I'm sorry, I cannot contain my excitement because she really is special to me, and y'all don't know. So I'm gonna try to get you to know, but it's just too much to contain. Um, so tell us about you, Beth. What do you want us to know about you? You start, and then I'll get myself together.
Yeah. I told you to not let me cry today. Please, we can get it together. Yeah, I am a priestess. That is kind of my function. That is what I've been for the last, what, 13, 14 years. Um, and my mission is that kind of like help women, especially Black women, connect with their own divinity. Yeah. Because what I do not do is initiate people, right? Like I am not the priestess that is like, come here and you have to serve Isis or you have to serve my gods or you have to follow the exact path I follow. What I do is help you connect with what you are meant to be doing. And that may be the same or completely different than what I'm doing, but that is what you need to connect to. Yeah. So I've been doing that for a long time since I was a teenager. I got initiated at 17, and at the same time I had to teach. So I've been teaching for a long time, and it's what feels right to me. It's like my calling, my purpose, and I've been trying, like that I've been trying to run away from it. Like, let me try.
I feel like that's a part of the having a calling journey. Like the running away is a part of the journey to me.
Yes, and I did try hard. I was like, I'm not a priestess anymore. Let's just do whatever. I was like, no, no, no.
No. Um,
And it is right. Like once you are following your purpose, it's like alignment. Everything aligns. Not It's not to me that it has to be easy. It's not like, oh, everything is easy, but it's alignment, like which is different.
so
Right?
let's talk about that difference because that difference pulled me out of my like glow over you to realize that I want the viewers to hear things. So what is that difference between like the things? Because I know, I'll say that. Let me just talk telling myself. I showed up after my spiritual awakening to you fully like just show me how to manifest everything so I could be happy, and let me write these papers in because what I was doing by myself wasn't working, so just show me how to manifest and I'll be happy. And I did not realize what all went into getting yourself becoming what you want to manifest. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So what's that difference that you, from your words, because you know to practice with me for sure. And now I'm gonna say this, Beth, like now that we are at this stage, I can see in like some of the times I was losing my shit, I could see like you knowing and just letting me be, where
Yeah.
at the time I was like, save me.
It cannot be like that. I cannot do your work for you. Yeah, and that is one of the traps of spirituality, thinking that someone is gonna awaken you or someone is gonna heal you or someone is gonna protect you. You have to do your part. Like it's you, because it's your spiritual life. It's not mine. Right? So with all the things that you are dealing with or the parts of the process, I'm here to is like, hey, take a little bit of water, breathe, and keep walking. Right. So I am not here to, just take you in my shoulder and be like, I'm gonna bring you to your spiritual path. Like that doesn't work like that.
It does not. Oh, but Beth, I used to be so mad when you'll be like, all right, just drink some water. And I'm like, but she's not giving me a solution. And I just be like, okay. I used to be so mad.
I know, I know. And I know because I've been there. Right? Like I am always been a very curious person. So since school, I've been like, okay, so and where is the tomb of Jesus Christ? Like, can you point me to me? And my religious teacher would be like, no, this is heresy. Like, why are you asking? This is blasphemy or whatever, because he resurrected or whatever. But I was curious. I was very curious about all the things. So in my spiritual life, I'm also curious. And my mentors and my elders was like, wait, or you're asking too much, because we know when it's just curiosity, just because we want to know. And we know when we are asking because it's something we need to figure it out to keep moving, right? So curiosity, the type of mind curiosity that we have because of the enormous amount of information we have access to now, it feels like we are, oh, this is a word that I am looking for to have the entitlement. We are entitled to know everything right now in this moment in order to make decisions, right? And in spirit does not work like that because it does not make sense to teach a pre-kinder baby astrophysics.
No matter how much the little girl in me wants to know astrophysics, I just won't get it.
Like, it doesn't make sense, right? And I used to also be like, oh, they're hiding things from me and whatever. But at the same time, what is important is like while we are following advice, while we are practicing and doing our part, we also connect with that light. Okay. So we cannot depend on what the elder are telling us or what whoever is telling us. We have to know how to access that light that is like, hey, breathe. Or maybe your answer is in another thing. Go and sit in nature for 1 hour and your answer is gonna be there. Yeah. Or have a bath, you know, or just talk with this person. But it's that light and that intuition. I have like white things flying around. Yeah. So it's so what I come here to teach, like in this life, is that like you connect with the spirit through yourself, through your mirror. Like you have to see yourself in the mirror and know really who you are. Like if you don't know what are you, like as a soul, as a being, and who you are, what are you doing here? Everything else is absolutely nothing. You can have 1,000 crystals and learn, memorize all the books, and have all the rituals at your hand, and even people doing magic for you. But if you're not doing your work, it's for nothing.
That last those two of the things you said, you drove home so many times that like it I don't know that I chose to believe it, but I know that I believe it. But I remember in the beginning what made me feel safe with you was you started out with, if your intuition tells you something different, listen to it, don't listen to me. And
Oh,
that made me feel safe to be vulnerable and learn from you. Although, full disclosure, Beth, when I showed up, I didn't recognize that you were teaching us stuff, if that makes sense. I mean, I know I was learning things and like taking notes to learn, but the concept, the box in my mind wasn't you're teaching us stuff to practice for our life. It was you're fixing me in this moment.
yeah.
And I think that moment lasted the whole first year. Um,
Wow, that's so good. That's so intense.
it just didn't click that I was learning. Like, I don't know, my student mind and my spirit mind they didn't join until the second year.
Mhm.
And so the information, like, and that was a blockage, but I feel like we're getting too much into our conversation and that we have a third audience. The audience is the third participant in this
They
conversation.
are being part of all the conversation. That is okay. You're bringing it in.
But I want to say this: if you are my client, This is who I learned from. And though the work she's so you can't have her. You have no, I'm just playing. I'm getting very possessive, but but I know I'm not I know that I am not your only client, no matter how much I try to make that be the case. um, but I learned from her, and I learned from her another while she's practicing herself. And so the thing that I learned through, perhaps you said it, but I learned for real in experience is that it is okay to be in progress and not in perfection
Hmm.
when you are working with others.
Yes.
And I think that that might have been what, now that I'm thinking about it, might have been what blocked my student mind and my like needing to be fixed mind was I just wasn't okay. I wasn't okay for a long time. Um,
And that is okay. Like we, like when we are sick is when we go to do it. Oh my goodness.
he was doing
The
the
most,
kind of the
the
most
cutest
over there.
distraction. This is so beautiful. Yeah. I mean, it's when we are feeling very sick than when we actually need the doctor, right? Like it's not like when you are in your best and you feel like, oh, I'm in flow. Like then why would you need help for? Right? So yes, like those things are real, and I've been there a number of times because we know a spiritual path is not like, oh, you stay all there forever and the goodness. It's all the learning and all the levels and everything that comes out, and you just move forward with that and heal that in the moment and just grow, right? And it's not forcing you to grow as well. Like you're not forcing yourself to grow, because I knew that that first year was very interesting for you. You were working with a lot of things, but you always showed up, right? And it could have been very easy to be like, no, it doesn't work or whatever. You show up, and that's what we need to do if we want to grow. It's just showing up. Sometimes it's just sitting there and being in all the bad moods that I also have, and listening to the elder and frowning like, I don't want to deal with this today. Like,
But here's
but
the thing, I'm gonna say this as a US newbie to ATRs and practicing in this manner, there's a fear of feeling those feelings with your elders because y'all could get us. So I don't even want to feel that way.
I mean, ideally, one is gonna be like present and praying before meeting, and all these things that we ideally are meant to do, right? But there are gonna be days that whatever is that we are dealing with is a lot, right? So we don't have to. It's better to just be you frowning there, so the elder can be like, yes, like let me just pray for her or guide her or tell her what they need, than acting like everything is okay, because then you're not receiving the medicine that you need. Okay. And that acting is also not for the elder. You're not acting for them to feel good, because the elder and everyone that has been born to teach and guide and help, spiritual and materially, all of those things, they want to know what the problem is, right? So they can help. So you're not doing it, well, we are not doing it for them. It's more for ourselves to feel like, oh, they're gonna think that I am not following through or I'm not a good student or whatever. So it's more of a, self imaginary thing than the real thing.
So first of all, I am loving talking to you like this instead of like just in the student position because I can see it in my mind. Like I see what you're saying in the history that we have. Um, so because I trust you to be a better keeper of secrets than I do, what is it that you have taught me?
What is it that I have or haven't?
So have like so you taught so I know what I do with my clients and I know what you do with me and I can see the differences, but I didn't know that I was learning a skill set. So what is it that you taught me? But I trust you to be a better, you know all of the things that you taught me. So I trust you to be better with explaining that than me.
No, I think that in your case, it was a lot about trusting your calling, right? Because it's not that before meeting me, you already knew, like you knew what you were meant to do, but it was shaky. It was like, how am I gonna get to this big thing? Like, how can I start? Like, it felt very blurry. But the moment you started trusting and moving towards that, it just came, because it was there for you already. And that trusting, I see in you, like it's just blossoming. That seems like trusting yourself, and if it's bad, or if, like say, you make a mistake, you fix it. Like the world is not gonna end by making mistakes, is it? Hopefully not.
Well, some can argue that
Some
the
mistakes
way
are
things look
necessary.
lately. I even saw something where the earth is spinning faster.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know.
Let's hope it's not like that. But like this type of things, like you already came with experiences by yourself, like spiritual experiences. So we are not starting from zero. It's just that trusting your own spirit, trusting that you are doing the right thing, closing your eyes and jumping. It was that. That is the main thing. All the other things that came there, it was like skills that you needed for that purpose.
I was thinking when I was meditating this morning, the like I've been meditating on trust a lot lately. I don't know how necessary it is, but that's because like you said, it's this you do it, you keep showing up all along the way, and you develop the trust from the showing up. It's not like the trust ever just be like, oh, you have enough trust, you're gonna show up and then the miracle happens. It's kind of like you got to keep showing up, and some of those times you show up, the miracles happen.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that builds trust that miracles will happen when you show up, but not every. I don't know. I'm not there at every time yet. Um,
Yeah. And it's half of like it's trust, but that type of trust is also faith. That faith that you are gonna figure it out no matter what. Your goal is there, and all the obstacles are gonna appear because they have to. And things are gonna happen, and you're gonna have that faith that you are able to figure it out, which is trust, right?
that makes sense. I hear it, and I'm getting there. I trust way more than I ever would have, than I ever did before, and I'm excited to develop more, to develop more. Um, I want to pivot a little bit to begin talking about ancestors. But before that, I realized I did the thing that I always do, and the audience is used to this. I forgot to tell you that you get to ask me a question I'm not prepared for at the end.
Oh,
So,
at the end.
yeah, in the back of your mind, just, if something comes up, um, I'm a little more intimidated because I know that the questions don't just come from you, even though they come through you. But either way, I trust the process. Um,
Okay.
but now, ancestor, reverence, and veneration. Um, I showed up having had spiritual experiences and sort of having like resigned to the fact that I have to have an altar, an ancestor altar, in order to practice. Um, but it was just kind of, but where that came from was before you was like every day, every time I would try to go get more knowledge, the answer would be like connect with your ancestors. And I was kind of, as a person who has suffered a lot of trauma from their immediate living ancestors, I I had all kind of resentment and resistance to that process. Over time, I found great importance in a relationship that is developed, and like I am ever grateful for that process. What can you say to the audience that would make them begin the process or find value in, like, I feel like everybody, all cultures need to kind of get back in touch and heal and that's the path to a shared future. And so getting people to do that inner work and to heal and have reverence for their ancestors is a part of that path to the shared future. But I don't, you seem to be easier getting people to do it than me.
Yeah. I mean, it is in the surface, like beginning with is a self-love practice, right? Like that is the beginning of it. because you cannot really love yourself if you don't love the people that make your body, the ones who contributed to every single part and aspect of you. And it's not only the physical part, because we know that in our DNA is everything, our skills and talents and pain and all of those things. So being grateful, I sometimes like it doesn't start with just with veneration. It's just being like pictures of them and trying to learn what they liked and being surprised because it's always a connection. There is always like, oh, I love to do, I don't know, I love to play baseball and no one in my family does. And then you realize that someone actually did, right? So it's interesting. It's a part of self-knowledge, and we cannot have self-knowledge without ancestral veneration, because we cannot move forward without knowing what is the root of our being. So there is this, as everything that gets to in the outside, it feels like you have to venerate your ancestors, right? And there is this sense like we always, as practitioners of African traditional religions, or Gnosticism, all of them have this knowledge that these souls that came before you and the souls that are in your lineage, they have something to teach you from their experience. The same way that you would like to sit down with your grandmother and just let her tell you all her, life situations, because they have is gonna be a lot. And you receive all that from the elder, and it fits you because it's kind of, they are describing you without actually describing you who you are. They are telling you like, we are warriors, or we are academics, or we are angry people, we are violent people, sometimes we are unhappy people. And it's just in this storytelling, in this connection,
That
right?
one right there, Beth. I'm sorry. This is just like, can you give me some advice? I know we recorded, but so if your lineage is unhappy and come from unhappy people, and so where this place is coming from is, that I have a personal life mission to help restore love to those who have been oppressed. But what happens in oppression is these deep seated layers of intergenerational trauma that show up as personality, that are where it is like, so I've had a client or two that had to just cut off their living family, just the whole family, because of how the dynamics are for their own healing.
Yes.
I forgot my question, getting all caught up. Like, how do you convince that person? Because I'm not even at the place of ancestor with that person, because we still sorting out this mind. But then there's a conflict, because I know in my own practices with you how much sorting out the ancestor stuff helps with my mind. But if the client won't go there, what do you do?
You be patient. That's it. Like you have to let them process the things that they have to process right now, and wait until they are ready to actually reach out to the ancestors, right? Because the ancestors are not here anymore. And we know they are in a different dimension. They have more access to things. They have maybe more power. They are not limited by a physical body, so they can do things. But they also die with their own pain. Okay, so the ancestors that are not elevated, that were never paid attention to, ancestors that were abused themselves, and they have a lot of darkness in their life or pain and trauma, they cannot help you because they also have their own things, right? So when they are trying to help you, they may cause more blockages and more pain, right? So that's why the process of connecting is slow. It's kind of like step by step. If you have an elder in the family that is like, it started at this specific point, because sometimes they can point out like it was the great great grandmother did this and then everything went to shit, right? If they can point it out, then you can deal with that specific ancestor. If not, You go backwards, like, okay, the grandmothers that I met and they were mean or they were good. What do? You pray for them well-being. So it's not like you're asking them to do nothing for you, because no, you ask the creator of everything, which in my inner beliefs and experience is a black woman. So it's this gorgeous, luminescent black mother that holds everyone inside and knows everything, and you ask her to give light to your ancestors wherever they are, whenever they are. Okay? So in that specific moment in time, they are receiving love, healing, appreciation, abundance, health, everything they need. And you pray for them.
I don't know if you taught so you've had me elevate more than one ancestor in our time. Um, I don't know if you told me to do that or it just came to me when I was in my pain. But I know that I had the experience of the benefit of that. The way I remember it is that coming to me in my, but like, so what would happen was if when I was feeling, ooh, like for me, a lot was carried in my shoulders. But when I was feeling depressed or whatever it was, I would pray that they would have the remedy to that feeling while I'm actively overcome with it though.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
that was like, the way that, so comparing me to me, I was doing work on my mental habits before I started working with you. That was like some mental exercises like no other, to come to be able to pray during the depth of despair
Yes.
for positive. Like that, I don't know, for how hard it was for me, it's hard for me to ask somebody else to do it.
It is hard for everyone. That comes first from the awareness that that pain that you're feeling is not only you.
Yes, you're right, because that happened first. Like I knew it wasn't my pain, but I didn't know how I knew. I mean, it was my moonbeam, but I wasn't paying attention to it. I just did it. It was a wailing night, honestly. It was that one, the one I'm thinking of was a wailing
Yes.
night. Beth has guided me through a few of these things.
Mhm.
So I just want to talk about that for the viewers so that to try to give light to the experience of the healing. Um, So, through this process of praying for my ancestors' healing for the pain that lives in me, I had the most recently was with my mother, and I don't mind telling this. I had resentment myself that came up with the notion of having to elevate my mother because of the trauma that I experienced when she was in her physical body. And I didn't know it was resentment. And so like I've been elevating, and then I had this really big release under the Cancer full moon, and
Mhm.
I
Yes.
felt this tenseness that is always in my shoulders. That was a part of every single feeling I ever felt, good or bad, except for one memory. I have one memory without it, and I think I was 3. So,
Mhm.
like, I want to say from the time my grandmother died, I've had that anger and rage, and I didn't know. And so then when my mother came through and it was to elevate her again, this resentment happened, and I just went on this like dump. And thank the guys for Beth, because she just let me dump. And I didn't know that that was it was, just like all these things and how I felt and all these memories. And it was a memory flood and it was like an outburst, but then my chest was empty. The pain was like I could talk about. I'm talking about it now, and my face is not leaking, and I'm not even blush, and that's not normal for me. And so, like, but then over the processing of all of that, I understood that I was confusing being in love for the satisfaction of the longing for love. So when I would get into a relationship, whether it be friend or romantic, but romantic was the biggest one, That was also from my mother. I found like my type is her type because she was still stuck.
Mm,
But I would we would be in like so if they weren't in my physical presence, or if I, you fall in love, you have all of this great like ideal time, and that's the satisfaction of the longing. But then when they left, the longing's still there. I would crave the satisfaction of the longing, and then I had all kind of attachment style
mm,
mishaps and like neediness and not neediness. I think in psychology it's like anxious avoidant, or
mm.
but like if you get clingy and then you get detached because you're mad at yourself for being clingy.
Yeah.
So but that was because I confused being loved for the satisfaction of my longing to be loved myself. Another confusing feeling I had was all that anger and resentment. I thought it was just disappointment. But the reason I thought it was just disappointment, or I labeled it that way, was first because when I was a kid, anytime adults were mad at me, and because they saw how effective it was, they would say, "I'm disappointed in you." And so
Mm,
that would make me feel flood of shame. And that was their better thing than spanking me, because spanking did not work. I could take that. And like, you tell me not to do it, I put my hand on my hip and I do it and then turn around for the spanking. Um, but the shame worked every time with me. So when they were angry, I was programmed that was disappointment. But then when my mother died at 19, I was I was fighting her addiction myself, and I lost. And I'm not saying that that's not rational, like as far as how you think about it, but it was like this fight, and then I lost. So then that was a big disappointment that set it. And so not process, but then when she died, there was no one to be mad at. I'm 19, I gotta live. So being mad doesn't serve me because nobody cares. The
mm,
person that cared died. Now I have emotion.
yeah.
Um, but so that programmed me. So then any kind of like upset or something don't work out, there was this fear of abandonment, and all of that feeling in my chest was a part of it. Even now, though my eyes are like watering up, I don't feel it in my chest like I did. And that's the thing, that is the elevation of your ancestors. That's the reason it's important, because what I wouldn't have been able to do before is be able to come back and still be present and get it together in this moment. I would have that feeling, I would be all triggered and just going off and feeling like nobody cares. And I'm present and I can have the emotion without being succumbed to the emotion because of this elevation process. I got the information that I was like my feelings were mixed up. But before that, they were just the way I experienced those feelings and the mental label I had on them. So I didn't even know it was from the challenge.
Mhm.
And then, so it was the disappointment. It is and this the next one. The other one, I confused being appreciated for being loved,
Mm.
which wired me to have to earn my love,
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
I
I
had
get.
to do something you have to do something to be in order to be appreciated for doing something. And then that's the feeling of love. And so the more I did, the more I would get love. But then that's a transactional relationship, because then what happens too is if I do something and you still cutting up, then that rage take over, and I'm not so loving. Um, and so all those different confusions happen where I fully understand. Well, let me not say this fully, obviously not fully, but I have a good grasp on feelings and the language and how the sensations that happen in my body, more than people who are not practicing in that, right? That's something I grew up with, and I still didn't know I was confused in feelings. Like my mother put me in therapy, and I went to see the school counselor. So like talking about my feelings is something I know how to do, and I didn't have a clue that I mislabeled them.
Growth. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. I love it.
So I told all my business to y'all audience in hopes that you'll see how worth it is, because now I'm just telling all my stuff, but when it's now that it's time to manifest a husband or something like that, because I got them concepts confused. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know. I want to learn, like where before, remember, I was satisfying this longing. So that longing would have made me desperate or would have made me feel extra like compelled and like I have to do. But where I don't have is the fear that if I don't do it this year, I won't be able to have it forever, which is what that longing used to tell me.
I understand. Yes, what you're saying.
So please elevate your ancestors. Pray for them. They epigenetics proves that they inside you if you need science for it. It is worth it because I don't think I could become the person I feel called to become if I couldn't handle my feelings.
It's like there is this thing, like, and in all of the things that you say, there is a huge problem that we have as society, especially like I believe Western society, and we don't know how to grieve, right? And because we do not grieve, like that energy that is produced through grieving is actually also an elevating thing for the person that we are grieving, right? So it is by itself a ritual.
Say more about that because you just blew my mind.
Yes. So we have, like, I don't know, like, yeah, you have the experience of your mother, right? But there is this thing, like when someone that is close to you pass away, the number of emotions that you feel, and they need to run and cry and yell and break your clothing and throw yourself inside the hole with it, like all those things, they need to be put out. They need to happen. That is a normal, healthy way to process the emotions of grieving.
That is so funny you say that because as soon as you like run out in my mind, all these judgments is coming up. Like I'm not allowed to express at that level, and I'm an animated person, and but I'm not allowed to express at that level. That's too far in my mind.
And
I don't
yes,
mean that like, but my
yes,
feelings are
I know, because we tend to see these people that do that, like, what is she doing? Like making show, right? But it is only natural for us to yell and scream and feel the pain of losing someone that you love. And that expression, which is energy by itself, is elevating that being, because that soul is like, I was so loved, right? Grieving is a deep
damn.
show of love.
So now there's some guilt happening.
No, because you didn't know.
I understand.
Water, crazy water.
This is what happens in session, y'all.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
yeah. And you're not alone. Like I also, and it's the problem of not grieving properly that soul that was here with us for a long time, is that that soul feels unloved and unwanted, right? Which is like, hey, this happened to me and I am not receiving light, no one is doing nothing, and it's like, what is it, right? So the rituals, the funerary rituals, are for the soul.
And I'm gonna tell y'all, just if you hear this, do it whether you understand it anyway. Because the guilt that I'm feeling is also a little bit of like a resentment to myself. And I have compassion for the anger that I had. Um, I know that it wasn't like I don't, but all the years that I spent being affected by what I am now relieved from, I could have not been affected by. And I understand for her, time is not a thing. Like she dies, she outside of time. So that part I can like now the guilt is I can calm back down. But it's kind of like I known better, I would have done better and I could have been better. So if y'all are watching this, do better because you don't
Grieve,
have to learn the hard way like I did.
grieve, cry, yell, scream, let it out. Like It's not human to
It's
not
hard
grieve.
to see you though your feelings have purpose, y'all. And when you don't acknowledge them, they just stay in your body and and then they react with the rest of the feelings you're gonna have the rest of your life. So if you don't express them, they
Mhm.
just stack up. And then every time you express that energy of feeling, it's gonna have all the rest of that shit attached to it.
Yeah.
And unless you do the work to see how that happens, then you giving people smoke that they don't really deserve.
Mhm. Yeah.
You
No.
giving them smoke when they didn't even start a fire.
Exactly, because it's unprocessed emotions just throw in whenever it's needed, right? So it's like that is the first part, the grieving, and then with that, when the person passed and for whatever reason you couldn't grieve because no one guides you through that, for example, there is this moment when you sit down and write them a letter, okay? And it is true, we do not justify the bad things or the negative, harmful, painful things that our ancestors did to other people. Like we do not justify that. But at the same time, we have to understand and be like, look, I do not agree with you doing that. I think in this moment it was wrong, but I love you anyways. Right? And because of you and all the things that you did, I am here and I'm having the opportunity to heal because even having the opportunity to heal is a privilege.
That part. It having the opportunity to heal is a privilege. And for black people in US and in a lot of parts of the world, you have to heal while simultaneously having more things to heal from after
Processing.
you.
It's like, yeah, it's a continuous grieving. Yeah, that feels never ending.
But I am optimistic about future to come because in so when because I mean well you know but also y'all know too. So in my teachings and my preparing to teach, like I'm looking at history. In US history, the candidate that would have won if things were going to stay the same would be the candidate that sounded like Donald Trump.
Mhm.
In society, what would have been happening would be more like those times than like these times. Even though we still have segregation, it's just not legally sanctioned. We still have all the things that we had in those times. We have us in positions. Like we have LeBron James opening schools, Big Sean opening schools, Oprah, like Oprah opened school in Africa, but that still help us, right? Like there, even
Mhm.
though, but that's a thing everybody does, all of us don't see. But we have examples of us caring for us. Taraji P. Henson, she started the mental health stuff. So like we
Mhm.
have money and stuff to be able to create
Resources. Yeah.
resources for ourselves. And so I feel more optimistic that we'll get to live a liberated life. And
Yeah.
I am here to do my part in living a liberated life. But whoo, this journey of liberating myself is a journey. um, so
It is a journey.
before you
Oh,
ask,
so sweet.
before you ask Alexis, this is Mini Cheer Bear. This is the baby of Big Cheer. And we want to cheer on what you're doing. Well, first of all, let's just go ahead and give everybody out there, I want y'all to actually do this. And I'm going to do it silently because we're recording. But y'all just give Beth a round of applause and
Ah,
actually do it because this we're gonna send her some good energy. She got good things coming. Um, but then she has VIP days that she's doing where you get to so we're cheering on what you're doing with mini cheer
okay.
um where with the VIP days, well how about this, instead of me trying to butcher what it is, you tell them and I just tell I sell on why they should.
Okay. Yeah, so the VIP days is about 8 hours that we are gonna sit down and study your spiritual and material life and create action steps, right? So what I do is I am mostly a medium, so I'm not an astrologist. I sit down and read the your natal chart in a medium way, right? So it's not about all the calculations, but about what your ancestors want you to know, what your higher self want you to know, what your guides want you to know. Yeah. And from that, we build action plan. We can build an action plan for the next year, which is the idea of the VIP day, that we will have not only the natal chart reading, but the transits for 2021, tarot reading as well to keep supporting all the things that you want to do and select the things that you should and shouldn't do, and the moon rituals for the next 12 months. Yeah.
So, just so y'all know, that is what she does with me in a year. And I had, so this VIP day, you get the whole year all in one day. So every benefit that so the moon rituals, that's twice a month. And that is the creating of the self you want to become. That is you are putting intention into who you want to become and releasing the parts of you that you do not need anymore that keep you from becoming that. But that's 12, that's 24 of those, right? Because that's 12 and 12.
24 rituals,
So it's
yes.
24 rituals that you get, but those are for you to become who you need to become for your purpose over the next year. But then you get a strategy, I heard, where you get to like, all right, so that's the rituals, and everybody don't know. If you haven't been doing rituals, you don't understand. You might not fully be like attached to that. You don't understand. You literally working reality. Um, but then you get the strategy, right? Like, so you get to like, all right, so let's talk through this, because I know it's, you got to have a feeling, an embodiment. You got to know what you're actually releasing, or you gonna learn. I'll say that. If you don't know, you will learn. So you want to talk through it ahead of time. This is
Yeah.
the purpose. Well, not the purpose. This is one of the greatest benefits, or a great benefit of a guide, is that someone who has done it before, you talk through with them what it is. Because I could say to you, oh, release your money story. But the money story, if you don't know what the money story is, or if a guy has to unpack several money stories, then they're not gonna say, but you know how like when you had to grow up real fast at 8 and it wasn't your job to make money?
Something like that,
You know what
yes.
I'm saying? But like the
But
talking,
mhm.
go ahead.
Sorry. But also the transits are because of that. Like everything is meant to be done in alignment. So the transits, the natal chart reading, the transits, all of that is in order for you to pick the right goals for this year. Because if you wanna do something and it's not in the cards, or the universe like, maybe the focus should be in this space. That other thing you can get later, but the focus in this thing, that is what we need to pay attention to. There is this misalignment that we have, that we want some things in the moment when the universe is like, no, like right now, the focus, the energy is in other area. So, but when we get in alignment with what the universe is doing for us, we fly because it's
Fact,
alignment. Mhm.
facts. Just you seeing me is evidence of this. Facts. And so you get the specifics for you, how it affects you,
That's for you,
which is
yeah.
very different than how when you read the stuff online.
Oh
And
no, I do not do generalized things.
no, but I'm trying to explain to them the
Yes,
difference.
that's why I'm telling them as well. Like, no, no general things, no book things. Everything is direct from spirit.
And you need that, because how the energy of Saturn affects somebody else and how it affects you can be very different, even if it's in the same house.
Even if you're twins.
Yes. So the VIP days are well worth it. Where can they find out about them?
I'm gonna give you the link and you share it there. And I'm only offering for January and February, right? So yeah, it's few of them available. I think 5 or 4.
So when you see this, get on it. Don't hesitate. If it resonates and you feel like this is what you need for your year, or let me say this is what you do need this for your year. You just do. If you out there, you unhappy and you feeling like, if you got a perfectionist complex or something like that, moving when it's efficient to do so helps settle that perfectionist mind. So you need to do this. And if you don't do it by February, then you just hire me and that'll be that. But February, but you will not get the same thing. I'm just letting you know. I feel very confident in what it is that I do, but I don't have 17 years.
Yeah. But also one thing is,
And it's
um,
very different. Well, not very different, but it's different what I do than what you do.
everyone has their own different specialty, let's say. I don't know. But there is one thing, like even a lot of things that we learn and we need to learn are the things that we think I should have known that already. Right? So do not let that stop you from growth, because that is a huge blockage. You think like I should have known, I should have that connection. And maybe, and this I am telling you this as someone who is a priestess for a long time. A lot of times in my life it was like, how is it like how I could do this knowing everything, like how that makes sense. Right? But it's not the information, right? The practice is that matters. Practice is that creates wisdom. Right? So even when you think that you know, having someone else telling you like this is right, you are in the right space, keep doing it, or there are other things to fix, will always help you. And this comes from someone who also I also have my own elders that I go through just to verify that everything is in alignment and the way it should be.
So that makes me feel good. I mean, well, I knew that anyway, but y'all hear that, y'all? So, like, if this is my elder and she has her elders, and she goes to her elders for herself, and I don't know, but likely for, if she has a question about the work she does with us. Um, and then the people who work with me, just so y'all know, this is who I go to when I am like, this is who I'm asking. And because it's a relationship of trust. Um, and
And we don't know everything, and there is always someone who knows something else
and
that can help you.
even if I think I know, my emotions is all jacked up in the moment and they telling me I don't know. So I trust that you can be present. And
Yes.
you have relationship with me. You've talked to me over time. So you could see if I'm doing a pattern or a sabotage or something. Like I just enjoy, first of all, I enjoy my lived experience so much more.
Mhm.
And I
Give me 1 second. My baby is making noises.
but my lived experience is so much more manageable and happy. I am I understood happiness was a practice, but I didn't recognize how many things were a part of what was making me unhappy.
Yes.
And a lot of those things are not a part of my lived experience anymore. So there's so much more room. Like happiness is easier to attain for
Mm.
having worked with you.
Oh, that's one. Oh, but I told you to don't make me cry today.
And I
Right?
told you I can't promise that because my feelings are genuine. Because that I feel more empowered over my lived experience while still being in co-creation with the allness that
Yeah.
you talk to me. So then I know I did the work,
You did. Yes, and you are doing it.
but I would not have done the work to repair or build an actual relationship with my ancestors. But a in physical life benefit that I see that's a skill set for that I didn't have before is if ever I become a parent, I will be a better parent for developing a relationship with my ancestors.
Yes.
And I don't want to unpack all of that for y'all because that's my business. But I know what I mean when I say that. And Beth, I know you probably know what I mean too. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to say that that's my gratitude for you. And it is worth it. I know y'all hear me talk about starting a spiritual journey all the time or starting like doing something to empower yourself to be better, like to in your journey, like one step better. But it is begin. I guess that's all I'm about to say. Just start and keep showing up because it will work with you. Don't listen to your mind tell you that whatever it is you heard today won't work. All right, start the things that you heard that you didn't hear won't work. Right? Like, because we said a bunch of stuff. So if we said 10 things and you heard eight of them won't work, start the two that you didn't hear that about and see if they will.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that help a lot of like one, you know that, but I am a very skeptical person. So that is the balance of being very spiritual but also extremely skeptical. I don't believe nothing. Like, and it's very
Y'all,
free.
if she don't know it internally, it's not real till she does.
It's not real until I know that it's real, right? And that is for me a very healthy way to approach spirituality, especially for Black people, because our own connection to spirit has been abused for a long time. So it's normal to feel this like, scammers, or someone is gonna use it, or someone is gonna abuse it. And that's why do not believe anything. But if someone is teaching you, practice and corroborate or deny it, right? You can, after you practice, you be like, it doesn't work for me, or it worked, right? And then you have your own personal confirmation, and that is what matters. Yeah.
Yes, that is what matters. You gotta do it. You gotta do something to know if it's gonna work. You could think otherwise, it's just a guess.
Yes, I guess, yes. I
So
guess are nothing. They do not matter in spiritual things. Like an intention is like, I had the intention of being good. It is nothing. That is
or you
nothing.
could.
Yeah.
So now we're at the place where you get to ask Alexis a question that she was not prepared for.
Okay. If you were a goddess, okay, what would be your favorite offerings?
I definitely wasn't prepared for that. Hmm, what would be my favorite offering? Like I get to just pick out of all the things.
Yeah,
I
like
have to
the
pick
people
like,
that will follow you as a goddess will need to bring things to you in order for you to favor them. Things or
I understand. So I like candy.
candy, hard candy.
Uh, so like gummies, I but it's a certain like harder gummy bears.
Uh-huh.
Things that I like caramel, like
Caramel.
rich desserts, things that make me like have an explosion in my mouth. So thank you for help. So butter, clarified butter though. Clarified butter would be something because it it tastes better and I like the butter flavor and then like the cream is not good for you. The cream fat and the butter is not good. And you can use the clarified butter and so many things that has a higher smoke point. Um I get that, but you're like these things. So it's like if I'm thinking of offerings and like food, but then I would also golds, things that are like brassy gold like this.
Mm-hmm.
Um Purple.
Purple.
This is my favorite color.
Mm-hmm.
Um Scents, things that smell sweet and floral or
Mm-hmm.
sweet and musky.
Mm-hmm.
Um I would like fire.
Candles.
Yeah, candles to be a part of. But I
Mm-hmm.
like fire. like the
Right.
flame. I like the flame. So I don't know how that would be, but so they would be like a flame, like light a candle for the offering.
Yeah.
And cool water.
Cool water. Hmm.
But the cool water is like that has to do with a me thing. Like I prefer to be cool water, but I have all the force that water has. So
Mm-hmm.
I can be solid as a rock.
Mm-hmm.
I could be steam ready to explode, but my preference is cool, not
Flowy water.
necessarily still water, because I ain't that boring, but like the relaxing water, cool, relaxing water. But I'll be
Mm.
all of that other stuff if you need it. But I'd rather be cool, relaxing water. And I'd rather have so like I'll say this. People when they come to offer to me, my solutions are win-win because of my preference at that cool, relaxing water.
Mhm.
So don't come for me. Don't come to me if you want a haircut just because you want a haircut. Come to me if you want a solution to the problem so you don't have a problem no more.
Okay, yeah. So you are the goddess who wants to help deeply and not superficially.
Yeah,
That's it?
yeah.
Mm.
It would definitely that is the yeah, I don't care about superficials at all. Like to me they get in the way of my lived experience.
Mm.
So yeah, it would definitely be the deep stuff. Like if you wanna so it may not be give you exactly what you're asking for, but it is going to be set everything like right the whatever it is that's the block, you have no more blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be easy to get what you're asking for, but
Yeah.
you have to you got to see it and understand it. So it's funny, I sound more Saturn than I would think. um
Yes. Look. Look at that.
I know.
I'm just listening. I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh.
It would be like the Jupiter Saturn conjunction though, right?
Uh-huh,
I'm
uh-huh.
not a
Yeah.
person. I don't because I don't think you just when you just give, people don't appreciate. Um,
That is true. Yeah.
and so it is more, but I want to give freely and easily though. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not like I don't want to set up for this transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't have to be a transaction because grace will be a part of it, but it would be from a being place. I'm gonna give you everything you need to be able to be.
Okay. Mhm. So those are like, do you remember all the offerings that you prefer?
No.
The hard candy.
Yes. The hard candy, the clarified butter, cool still water. Not no chewy candy, not hard candy, chewy candy.
Sweet candy, yeah. Like caramel.
Yes, and rich desserts like rich like dulce de leche cake or don't or ice cream. Ice cream's not a
That
really
I like. Yeah, dulce de leche. Mm. Okay, I see. So now today buy one of those offerings for yourself.
shoot. Nah, okay, I'm gonna give me some candy.
Yes.
Had it a couple hours anyway.
Yeah, well now we see. You're a very soft, yeah, goddess. Yeah.
But the thing is, I have that rage though. But there's a preference for soft. I'm
Mhm.
not saying that I won't cut hairs. If the win-win solution is to cut a couple hairs, I'll do it, but it's gonna be from a win-win place as opposed like I don't want to do it, but I'll do it if I have to.
Of course. Yeah. All goddesses are like that. Yes. I am sweet until you cross me or someone cross my babies. Then I'm not sweet anymore.
Because you're gonna learn today. You know,
What am I learn
I
today?
gave you the opportunity to choose correctly. So
You wanna learn
I like
today?
that
Yes.
question, Beth, and I am gonna go. I feel all kind like what you do. You did something on purpose. I know you did. That's
Offerings,
did that
offerings.
because you live a life on purpose and you are on your purpose. And I appreciate you helping me on my purpose.
Yeah. If you had it written in your face, you just needed a little push, like, hey, just this direction. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's good because there is like there are all type of students and all type of people and all type of souls in this planet. Some of us are like fully ready, like yes, I'm gonna jump and get there. And others are like, okay, give me the information and maybe next life I'm gonna start, right? And it's okay. All of them, all of us are okay. We are right in the space and time and moment we are meeting to be.
Okay, before we go, I have one last question, and it is an on the spot question. So if you don't answer, it's cool.
Okay.
Um, what was the most difficult thing? Like, what's the most difficult time I've given you?
You giving me, oh, you're a sweetheart. No, you are such a good student, like always on time or earlier than everyone, listening. Okay, well, if you want me to look for something difficult, I have to try. Let me think.
Well, that
The
makes it
hardest-
good.
Okay, yes, yes. Now, and I get now. At the very beginning, you were very in your head, right? And in my experience, some people may have different experience, but in my experience, and for the things that I know, the mind a lot of times block our connection with the spirit. Right? So when we are trying to put names into things, it blocks the experience of feeling and the experience of being with the spirit. So a lot of times, while you were trying to make sense of things that are spiritual and not necessarily need to make sense, you were losing the moment of a spirit being there, right? Which is not like you are the only one in the planet, like everyone does it. We all do it. But at the very beginning, that was the most difficult thing, kind of to bring you out from the mind so you could receive.
Well, if you find any satisfaction, just so you know, the people that I work with give me the same kind of run for my money.
It's like that.
But I have a couple, and y'all know who you are if you're watching, because we talk who make me earn and have the lived experience. I suppose at this stage it would be the wisdom of it. The people they teach me.
Yeah, like it is like that, and it's for all of us. Like if we come from the way that we think, like the academics in the school, and it's like you have to memorize this information and then you repeat it, and that's it, and you pass, right? But the spirit is not like that. And the moment you try to define it, you lose it.
How many lost downloads do I have? Well, I have
Yeah.
to say, I know I said it several times, but much gratitude to you.
Mm,
Thank
thank
you
you.
for this. I am excited for all the things coming to you, and I'm excited for all the things coming to me because of having worked with you. And on that, I'm gonna say bye to y'all. You have anything you want to say, Beth?
No, thank you. Thank you for your mission. Thank you for being there and showing up for your mission, and all the people that are receiving your light, are receiving that light that is so intense and powerful and healing and giving, right? So thank you. Thank you for being.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
See you next week.